Hello, Monarch fans. This is Gary with the Monarchists, and today I am lucky to be joined by ODU women's basketball head coach DeLisha Milton-Jones. Coach, thanks so much for coming on with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, I know that you had a tough one last night against a really good Marshall team, but overall, you all are off to just a really strong start at 12-4, and you're 4-2 in the Sun Belt. How are you feeling about the team now that you've gotten through 16 games this season?
I'm feeling good about where we're at. I think we're still trending in the right direction. Although we've had a bump in the road here and there, we were able to respond properly to my liking for us to get back on track as quickly as possible. Despite the loss last night, I still think that we can walk away from it understanding that um, although they shot the ball as well as they did, we practically handed them a game because we went away from the things that were working. We left 40 points on the board unanswered for in terms of missed layups around the rim for us. So had we made those shots, I think it could have been a different ball game that would have been in our favor.
Yeah, definitely. And I know they're one of the better defensive teams in the country right now, but I think you're right to call it a speed bump for sure. And you're heading into the final game of this 4 game road stretch. Saturday at 2 o'clock, you're in Harrisonburg with the big rivalry matchup against JMU. I know the Dukes are also off to a really strong start. They're 13-5, 5-1 in the conference, and the preseason pick to win the Sun Belt this year. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen on film from them this season and what fans should be on the lookout for Saturday.
I see a lot of great play. They're a solid team. They always have a great display that they put on night in and night out. There's a consistency in how they play because they have skilled players coupled with great coaching, and they walk away with a lot of good wins. I think for us, the main concerns are going to stem from how well do we defend in the paint and how many opportunities are we going to have to attack the glass and rule the boards, for the entirety of the game? If we can limit second chance opportunities for them, and if we can funnel them into taking contested jump shots rather than scoring at will in the paint, scoring off of drives, scoring off of pull-up jumpers, scoring off of threes, and scoring off of rebounds and in transition, then it's going to be a game that's not going to be in our favor. But if we can come out and we can make it a half court scoring game, we take away transition, we take away I'm sorry, we take away their attempts
That's good.
at the 3 point line, and we make it a 2 point scoring game. But then we also are stingy in terms of how often we allow them to get good looks in the paint. Then I think we can walk away with a great win.
Fantastic. I know a lot of ODU fans will be tuning into that one, being a big rivalry game and could go a long way in deciding, kind of what the seeding looks like at the end of the season for the conference tournament. You spoke a little bit about the defensive side, and really that's been a staple for your team this year. You're top 15 nationally in points allowed, like 19th in steals, 20th in field goal percentage defense. I know fans can see the effort and the intensity. It's obvious the team's bought into your approach and that they really take pride on that end of the court. Tell us a little bit about your defensive philosophy and how you've been able to get your players to just buy in so completely to playing defense.
Well, I know it's probably one of the hardest things that a coach has to do is to get their team to love the defensive end of the ball because there's nothing glamorous about that side. It's physical, it's grimy, it's tough, and you have to have a dog mentality about how you go about your efforts on that end. Normally, you'll have one or two players that can commit themselves to that effort night in and night out. But for us, I think from day one, we have been talking to our players about how important it is to shore up ourselves on the defensive end if we want to call ourselves a championship level team. The championship teams that I know, they have a solid front on the defensive side of the ball, and they don't just rely on their ability to outscore opponents. You have to get stops. So convincing them of the fact that everyone has to commit themselves to this type of work was rather easy, and we displayed it to them in a way to where they understand that everyone's efforts combined makes defense fun. But when it's the responsibility of one or two, that's when it's hard. So now when they reap the benefits of the steals, the deflections, and they see how debilitating it can be for their opponents, I think it fuels them to want to do more and be better in that area.
Yeah, it definitely shows the lockdown defense and also turning defense to offense has been apparent if you've watched any of these games, and it's been a lot of fun to watch because it's like an avalanche. Once you get that defense start going and creating turnovers and then getting points on the other end, it's just like it's like you're ambushing the other team a little bit.
No doubt it is. I feel like we're sharks in the water, and we smell blood, and there's a feeding frenzy that's going on, and the ball is the subject, is the object that we all want and desire to have. I love the fact when I see my players get excited about taking charges, or a big block shot, or just locking a team up and getting a 30-second shot clock violation. All of those things are momentum shifters for us, and you can almost just take the energy away from the other team and make them feel so defeated psychologically when you have closed every door that they have tried to walk through, and you deny them on every act at every point. That in itself is just something where you can plague someone mentally far worse than you can physically.
I think the shark attack defense might be a good idea for the next ODU team shirt. That sounds pretty fun.
We might need to put that in as a play call, shark attack.
There you go. I like it. I like it. Fins up. Awesome. Well, before the season, I know you were asked 1,000 times about bringing in 10 new players and how do you get them to gel, build chemistry, all of that. And I think there were some doubters that I think your team has already proven wrong. What from just like a team chemistry and team building standpoint have you been most impressed with so far this season?
I love the fact that they're not just relying on the efforts of the coaching staff to be the ones to build the culture. We do our job by going out and finding good people that can play great basketball. That's the first step. But the most important step is the one that they take as a group, where they take ownership and they put the onus on themselves to be the ones to lay the foundation for what our identity is going to be on and off the court. We give them certain mantras like "You're your sister's keeper." The same way there's that mantra about "Am I my brother's keeper?" Well, we ask that same question from a sisterhood standpoint, uh, and we change it to say, "I am my sister's keeper." So we're going to have each other's back through thick and thin, and seeing each other as family and building it on love, honor, and trust. Um, those are the staples behind why our culture is so solid, and it's something that we live by every day. And when you are viewed upon as a family, you're going to go through some of the same things that families go through. You're going to have your tough moments where your auntie and your uncle may not see eye to eye. Someone may be sick or someone may be injured, but how we go about all of that, we go through it with love and understanding. And we've been able to weather a lot of storms that normally would break a team, but we have tough conversations. We welcome all of them, and because we have those conversations, we're able to get through things smoother and quicker than the average team. So I tip my hat to my players for being the ones to say, you know what, if it's going to be, it has to be done through me. And everyone takes a level of pride in how they present themselves and how they care for and um, how they care for and tend to each other.
Fantastic. Switching over to talk a little bit about the offensive side of the ball. Like when I watch this team, I feel like there are 7 or 8 players that could go off for double-digit points every night, like just on any given night. I think that's a great advantage to have as a coach, but it has to be a little bit challenging from like a rotation and minutes management standpoint. How do you approach balancing playing time in game when you could have multiple hot hands, cold hands. What's your approach to managing that?
Well, we try to just let it happen naturally. We let the game decide um, who what skill set is needed, and based upon what skill set is needed, that's whose number gets called. It's not, some coaches kind of have their set rotation, but for me, I love to call audibles and allow whatever is presented in front of me to dictate what moves that we make next. And the players know that their responsibility is to just be locked in and ready to go. So when your number is called, you know good and well that you're being put out here because your skill set is needed. So you can go out there with total confidence and ready to be able to produce.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that throughout the season with different games, different people. I know Brenda had a great game against NC State. I know India's had some great games, Jordan, and really it's just been it has to be a nightmare for the opposing team to try to figure out, all right, who's going to be the hot hand tonight.
Yeah, and we do that by design. It's nice to have that one player you can go to night in and night out, and you can get a solid 20 and 10. But 20 and 10, the last time I checked, isn't enough to win a whole ball game. You need the efforts of everyone. So I love for my players to be able to go out and understand that they have a value that is placed on their play. So there's a responsibility for them to go out there and be the best version of themselves that they can be, regardless of who we're playing and at what moment you're coming into the game. For us, I think it's probably challenging for our opponents because they have to go deep into the scouting report. If there's 15 players, you may have to have a scout for 12 because you never know who's going to come in for us based off of their skill sets that they have and what the game is asking for that can come in and be a major contributor to our success.
All right, Coach. You all are finally back home in Chartway Arena on Thursday, the 25th at 6:30 against App State, and then again at 1 p.m. on Saturday, the 27th against Georgia State. How excited will you and the team be to actually get a week off from traveling after four in a row?
I, I can only speak for myself. I'm going to be extremely happy because road trips are hard. We don't have the comfort of private planes that we can pack everybody onto and go to and fro and be there in a matter of a few hours. To get on the bus and ride the bus for 8 hours or 6 hours, it's hard on the body. But I think our players have responded well. If we can finish this road trip with a split, it will be a success. But then we can go home and we can kind of regroup. And I think everyone will be excited about being in front of our fans again because we love the energy that they bring. We love to see their faces and in the faces of their friends and new supporters that they come out, that they bring out to show us love. So it's been long overdue. 2 weeks straight on the road is tough, but we welcome being able to get back into Chartway Arena.
I know Monarch fans are happy to welcome you back next week. If you don't have tickets, you're not going to be there. Make sure you grab those. Show up the 25th for a 6:30 game against App State, and then on Saturday at 1 p.m. against Georgia State. Come watch some fun Shark Attack defense. Coach, thanks so much for coming on for a few minutes while you're on the road here from Huntington to Harrisonburg. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and fins up, as you say.